Greetings everyone, I am RSV. So there are new augments coming in Kvaris. Let's take a look at them. There may be more than what we have seen so far. However, the ones that have been shown off so far are Tribble, increases potency by 2%, Gigas Bali, Gigas Urafi, and Gigas Aglai. The three of these increase 2 of your potencies by 2.5%. Something you'll notice about all of these augments is they are hybrid statted augments. They affect 2 or more potency types. So what does this potentially mean for the meta? Well, if we don't get any new single stat augments, then it goes something like this. This is the current best in stock glass cannon and defensive build. The defensive builds may still be relevant in Retum depending on the ancient enemies, as they have been teased as stronger than the Gigas enemy. So let's move into a 2-type hybrid build. These two setups are most efficient for this type of setup. I've designed a glass cannon build and a defensive build, though from what I can see comparing the builds, the defensive build definitely looks a lot stronger. But here are the lineups. The glass cannon build consists of Tribble, Alt Secreta 3, Mastery 4, Arati Soul 3, Gigas Fali, Urafi, or Aglai. And for the defensive setup, Alt Secreta 3, Dreadkeeper 3, Mastery 4, Arati Soul 3, Gigas Fali, Urafi, or Aglai. While the glass cannon build still has really high potency and is fairly close to the initial glass cannon build's potency levels, it takes a large hit in damage variance in this setup. The reason for this ends up being is there are only 2 options that are not Dreadkeeper free for a hybrid build in terms of increasing your potency floor while still increasing your damage. So what ends up happening here is because the potency floor of the second setup is a lot more relative to the defensive setup and the high potency setup, I would surmise that in this scenario, the defensive setup is a lot more functional than the glass cannon setup. Losing 9.3 to 7% of your potency floor is huge, while the defensive build only loses 2% or 1.4% depending on the way you build. Keep in mind, only your units need to be hybrid setup. Your weapons can be attuned for a single potency type, and you can just use 2 different weapons and use a hotkey to switch between them on the fly. One way of doing this is using the /MPAL command, and simply put that into a quick chat and you'll be able to switch between your weapons by doing that. However, you'll need 2 keybinds for that to switch between 1 and 2, and 3 between 1 and 3, and so on. Otherwise, I want to comment on how close these 2 setups are now. They are extremely close, and a big part of that is the Gigas Fali, Urafi, and Aglai augments, though sadly they do not save the free type hybrid builds. Each of them have a core of Alt Secreta 3, Mastery 4, and Arati Soul 3. These augments are unavoidable, I feel, in this build type, as they are staples and they are just really good. Now the problem is, the remaining 2 augments, there's only 3 augments you can choose from, and this results in 3 different builds. These 3 augments are Tribble, Ale Domina or Ret Domina, and of course, Dreadkeeper 3. And in this case, it is still a total landslide in all regard. Going full glass cannon, you're losing over 10.7% potency. If you do not use a hybrid weapon, you're still losing over 7.9% potency. The best output setup that I have here for you today, compared to the prior defensive build, you're still losing 5% potency overall, in best case scenario, and more if you're only using hybrid weapons. And keep in mind, the single potency augments could get a lot stronger going into Kvaris. We do not know if we'll get basic potency augment 4s, we don't know if we'll get Gigas Might 4, we do not know if we'll get Addy Deft 2, or etc. We do not know enough about the augments going into the next patch to really say anything for certain yet. However, things are looking up at the moment in terms of the hybrid build, and I hope that it only gets better for the hybrid players, especially the players that are using 2 weapons, as I feel like the game isn't really set up for play with 3 different weapon types anyway at the moment. So I feel like things are on the right track now, even though the tri-potency build is kind of low, because that duo hybrid build is so close to its competitor. This should open up a lot of avenue for very interesting play with that setup. On top of that, because of the new Gigas augment, more alternate weapon damage can be squeezed into a meta build, and this can increase the potency of katanas, who can now have a pre-charged flex arrow do a little bit more damage, which I think is a boon for katana mains who are really trying to push out those numbers and speedrun. Otherwise, I've been RSV. What do you think about the new augments? And I will see you next time.